Well, we're rocking and rolling, dude.
Here
Who
we go.
cares? Who cares at this point? We got Bernie and his mask on the stupid State of the Union. You're apparently infatuated. You were liking our bot follower that we got on the Twitter account.
Could be real. You're saying there's a chance.
Well, did you get what are our Instagram numbers? How's that's our one stronghold, our Indian contingent. How are they doing? You get to it
Let's
yet, or are
see.
you still sucking on Bernie's teat, hoping he gives you Medicaid or Medicare for all?
I forgot we had an Instagram, to be honest.
Just goes to show everybody. If there's anyone besides us two watching, I put in 8 Reed's right 80-20 at the time. That's about the effort. 80-22. 80% me, 20% Reed. If we're even going to be that generous.
Yeah, I don't have the login info, so you'll have to check it out. But
Are you not, dude? See, this is what's crazy. You don't have the dedicated Gmail even up. Like, come on, guy.
I forgot this computer doesn't have
I don't want
Gmail.
to berate you while we're recording, but it's kind of insane.
Yeah. I haven't put in the effort this week. It's been a busy week.
Yeah.
I'm always on something. Not
Always
necessarily
on
the
cloud
podcast.
9. Not focused. Not that this is anything to focus about, but yeah, no, we're at 51 now. I don't know where we were. We were somewhere in the 40s. So that Indian contingent is growing strong.
It's a new record.
Yet another record. We're eventually going to be essentially like a call center here in short order. We could probably hopefully hit them up to spread the word.
Well, I don't know exactly how many of these people are even real. It could just be one person with 84 accounts and they just follow you two at a time every day. I don't know.
I would
don't know how
have to
that thing
imagine
works.
the vast majority are probably not real people.
It could be you buying this bot farm, and that's why you ask me for $5 every couple of weeks.
If it were me buying the bot farm, I would at least tell the bots to click on the link to go to the YouTube page to get its views. Because if just each one of those bots clicked on the YouTube page, one view, and we wouldn't be averaging like 10 views a show. So half of which are probably me trying to review and get better. But
well, that's gonna cost you a little more money than the $10 you're putting out to the Indians.
yeah, dude, you should see how much I shelled out to Adobe to try and learn how to edit. Then you know how the commitment is completely drastically fucking altered. For sure. But did you watch the Pro Bowl?
I tried to, man. It was hard to watch. I ended up switching over to golf and watching the Pebble Beach Pro-Am instead. I'd rather watch that, and golf's kind of boring to watch on TV at times. But the Pro Bowl, the flag football game, I think I watched the first game. It was somewhat competitive, but to me, man, they didn't have the stars there to keep me interested. I didn't want to see Tyler Huntley at quarterback anymore.
Huntley didn't impress. I
Not at
didn't
all.
watch a single second. I was actually talking this to a coworker. I watched more movies this weekend than I have in probably at least a year and a half. Just because there was no baseball going on. There was no real sporting event that I cared about. What golf was it? That Pebble Beach Pro-Am? Was that finishing up? Was that what
Yeah,
it was?
yeah. It actually went into Monday because they had some shitty weather out there, but it was decent. I mean, it wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, see, because I was watching more movies than I'd ever seen. So I watched, what was the stupid thing? I watched Don't Look Up with Leonardo DiCaprio.
I've seen that.
What did you think of that movie? If you can remember any of it.
I mean, it was, obviously satirical, but I don't know, the way we're going in this country, I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little hyperbolic because, like, my first thought just on the overall premise was I get what they're trying to go for. Like, hey, we're so distracted with X, Y, and Z, people wouldn't even realize if a comment were coming this way. And I thought that whole thing was a little bullshit, dude. Because if you're telling me that the entire world, I don't care who the countries are, like, we wouldn't work together. That's almost the same thing as like if aliens came on the planet and they were hostile, we wouldn't work together as a human species to like somehow fight those aliens. Whether we could or couldn't, it's a different story. But it's like, I'm pretty sure humans would start putting things aside if there was truly like an existential crisis a meteor, whatever they said. I think the movie is like 6 to 9 meters because I just watched it. And so,
Yeah, I don't
not
remember.
meters, kilometers. I thought it was okay. I would say I looked up what the rating was. I think people were rating it like 7 out of 10 stars. I would probably go like 6 out of 10.
I don't even know if I'd go that high. I mean,
It wasn't that.
it
I
wasn't
think it was
Leo's best
enjoyable
work.
enough.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely a lazy, no sports on kind of movie.
That's
I
exactly what it
wouldn't
was.
recommend it to my friends for sure.
Well, because what was it? I think it came out in 2020. So it was that one. I saw this other one, but that's newer. I think it's newer. It came out 2022 or 2023. It's Jonah Hill, and what was it called? You People. That one I wouldn't recommend either. That one was probably worse than Don't Look Up. I don't understand that movie at all. It's kind of sad.
I watched the preview for that and had zero interest. It looked, I don't know, it almost looked like race baiting to me. Like, was it
kind of
not
was.
like? And I expect more out of Jonah Hill. I mean, the guy was known for drawing dicks in high school.
Well, he apparently wrote it with some other dude who's a black guy. Can't think of his name. I mean, I guess I could look it up, but I really don't care. But what was funny, it was just sad because it was sort of like in 2023 in LA of all places, there'd be this much, I don't know, tension between a white family and a black family, or Jewish and black.
Yeah, it was.
To where like the interracial couple couldn't get married, and then I don't know. You'd have to watch the movie, I guess. But if you don't come away thinking that Eddie Murphy in that movie is just a straight up racist, I don't know. You're probably watching the wrong movie, but that one was weird. And then I saw some other movie that the dude. Did you ever see Dune?
No.
Oh.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, really? Well, it was the
I'm not a
guy
big movie
who
buff.
played in that movie. I think his name's Timothy Chalamet. I think it's something Frenchy
Timothy
like
McVeigh?
that. Huh?
Timothy McVeigh?
No, not that guy. It was called The King. That movie of the three, and that one's older. It was like 2019. That one was actually pretty good. So it was like he was a medieval king, and they did like battles. It was really about the French and English. I think it was some battle in the 100 Years' War. I looked it up. It was Agincourt. It was actually pretty cool. But it was long, dude. It was so long. Movies these days, that's why I watched the Jonah Hill one, because I think it was only like an hour and 45 minutes. I was like, I could, even if this sucks, I could watch it. That King movie was like 3 hours long. I almost couldn't do it. I had to take a break.
We might as well make that a mini series or something.
3 hours, dude. You are pushing it. There was another movie that Netflix was. It was speaking of Leonardo DiCaprio and Don't Look Up. It was called. This is an older one though. This was like early 2000s, called The Aviator, about Howard Hughes. I almost watched that one because like, oh, it's about planes and stuff. I could see that. 3 hours and 50 minutes, I believe. Either that or 2 hours and 50 minutes. And I was sitting there, I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm watching 3 hours of this freaking movie. That's ridiculous.
That is a really long movie. But that's back when they were making movies that long. I don't think they make them that long anymore, unless it's like the big avatars and shit like that.
I think a lot of them are, dude, go look at Netflix. I bet you a lot of them, whenever you're just looking next time.
Yeah, I don't watch movies
stupid
like
movies are long. Just the ones, because I was looking at like, which one's the shortest one that I think would be, digestible. And it was only a couple of them, and they weren't. It reminded me why I don't watch Netflix movies, because they weren't that good.
Yeah, they're average at best, most of them.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about? So you said you were watching golf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be watching the Waste Management Phoenix? What is it? Classic? No, Open. Phoenix Open.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah, I absolutely love that.
You know what I didn't realize? They call the 16th hole. I learned this today. The Coliseum.
Yeah.
I don't know if
it's rowdy in the Coliseum. I did not say that, but it gets rowdy in the Coliseum. When they hit a hole in one, everybody throws their beer like an Ole Miss college baseball game. It's exciting.
I wonder how often they hit holes in ones. Probably not too often.
I think there was one last year. I forget who hit it.
That's hard to do in any tournament. I wonder, that would be actually an interesting stat. What how many hole-in-ones per PGA season, let's say, just to make it.
Season's a good measuring point. I'll look that up. That's a good one. What's your over/under on?
If I had to guess, I don't know how many tournaments there are. I think there's roughly 30. I would have to say it's probably averages out per season. I would say less than 10. It's not easy to do a hole-in-one. And Albatross is even harder. No. Yeah, an Albatross, I think, is a 2 strokes on a par 5. I think. But if you can find that, if they have that stat available, I would be curious. But while you're doing that, speaking of a stat, and I thought this was cool, the prize money that's going to be split this year at the Waste Management Open or Phoenix Open is $20 million. Compared to certain events, you don't think it's all that much, but that's double last year's prize money. There's also now apparently 12 PGA Tour events that are now between $15 and $20 million.
Oh, yeah, they upped the money big time since the Live.
I was just about to say, that's the power of Live right there. That's the Saudi money. But it goes to show what you would think, right? If it was no Live Tour, wouldn't you think that over the course of time, that as they're getting more money, like, wouldn't they put that towards the purses? Like, where are they getting this money? What are they doing that they can just now double the prize money? You know what I mean? It seems to me that
what do they get? Better sponsors, bigger sponsors? What TV deal? I know that
I
they're
would
with
imagine
ESPN, so that may be where some of that money came from.
It could be TV stuff, but I have to imagine that some of it's just grift from whoever was running the PGA. That instead of putting it towards, because like my thought, right? If I'm the PGA commissioner, I know the big thing in golf, just like how it's sort of an issue in basketball, is that people either skip tournaments or just like how players do rest management in the NBA or whatever the hell they call it.
Just like they did in this Pebble Beach one. I told you there was only, I think Justin Rose was the highest ranked guy, and he ended up winning the tournament. I mean, I think he was the lone superstar in the tournament. Well, Spieth was in it, but he sucked.
Spieth sucks now, unfortunately. He's my favorite golfer, but he sucks now.
Yeah,
but
that's terrible.
That's where I'm getting at, though, is if you're trying to entice these guys to play as many tournaments as possible, wouldn't you want to put more money as much as you could feasibly and still run the business and make whatever? Put it as much as you can towards the purses. To me, it's just I would love to have some sort of accounting as where the hell this went to. But do you want me to share this hole-in-one, a list of aces in the PGA Tour 2019-2020 season?
It's just the best I can find at the moment for anything.
Let's see what they say.
It just gives you like the odds and how many were that season. So it's not, I mean, it's not an average, but it's a number to look at least.
How close were we on the over-under? Probably not very.
I didn't even guess, so I don't remember.
Well, I said, I think 10. Let's move it over. Yeah, I don't want to hear your crap. Go away. So what are you seeing? There have been 25 holes in one so far. Wow. Okay. So that answers that.
I think the year finished with 32 is what I saw.
Where did you see that? That's honestly, I mean, that's if it's 32 for sure, that's triple what I thought. That's nuts. Oh, it's one of that says clickbait as it gets. I'm not going to that. Does it say at least? Yeah. So in all, there were 36 holes in one.
36. There you go.
Quadruple almost. Okay. Interesting. I never would have thought that. That's way more than I would have anticipated because hole-in-ones are not easy, but I guess we're talking about pros. These guys are studs.
Man. You want to know what the top earner was last year in PGA?
I would say, if not Rory, maybe Jon Rahm.
It is not Jon Rahm, and it is not Rory.
Who was it?
It was Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, okay. Old Scott bag.
How much do you think he earned? I put it on the thing so you can click on it and put it up if you'd like, because it's actually pretty interesting to see the number of events and the number of or the amount of money they won.
Well, I would have to say, I don't know if I had to guess, because I think if you win tournaments, you're at least probably cashing in probably $1 million. So
Yep, right around there, I
I
think,
would have to
depending on the
say
tournament.
maybe somewhere between 15, probably 10, 15 million.
You're right in that range. He earned $14,046,910 in 25 events. Made the cut 20 of the 25 events. Won 4 tournaments. Was in the top 10 11 times. Average score of 68.9, which is actually the same score that Cam Smith, who was the second earner, finished with at 10.1 million. He was only in 18 events though.
Wow.
But he made 14 of the 18 cuts with 7 top 10 wins or top 10 finishes and 3 wins.
Okay, and
That
I know
is
his win.
impressive.
Okay, so Scheffler won the Waste Management last year. I knew that. He won the Arnold Palmer, and then he won the Masters. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so to win the Waste Management, it was 1.5 million, because I'm looking at his breakdown right here. Arnold Palmer is 2.1. The Masters relative to Arnold Palmer is not that great, 2.7 million. And then the rest of the money, the Tour Championship, 5.75. Wow.
That's a pretty good payout there.
Now he tied for second there, so I wonder what the winner got. Shit, Bar.
I want to see who the lowest paid guy on tour is.
I don't know.
I'm getting
He's
way
probably not
down
there,
here.
because don't they do it in a way where once you're the lowest, they take away your card?
I think there's, right here
What is it,
it'd be
160,
top
right?
250.
Oh, good night.
And it's Matt Every, who earned a whopping $7,659. So he's got to have a day job, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would imagine sponsorship. He's probably, but if that's just his PGA, is that just his PGA Tour earnings?
It says,
Or just total earnings for
it just
any?
says earnings. I don't know what that means.
Well, he only played in 2 events, right? Is that what it says? 8, yeah.
John
Okay.
Rahm's leading this year's earnings. He's been in 4 events, 2 wins, 4 top 10s. He's made the cut 4 times. He's earned 4.8 million.
That's a good chunk of change. I would take it.
Yeah, at 28 years old, it's solid.
Yeah, he's only 28 years old. Wow.
Man, could you imagine
That's the
being
beauty of golf, though, is you can keep playing. Like, he'll be able to play another decade, probably 15 years easy. Once you're 50, it's sort of like when you're kind of done. But then you can go on to the senior tour. I know they probably don't make nearly as much, but I think that kind of shows why some of these live golfers were taking the money, because I think Johnson got like 50 million or something crazy like that just to sign, not even to win.
I'm gonna look up the live golf earnings now, see if we can't find their info. They don't have a website like that.
Oh, they don't have ESPN doesn't have a live on there, huh?
No, I thought they'd have their own website.
Interesting.
Apparently
I would have
not.
thought ESPN would have broken it down into live too. Maybe they're not. The Saudis aren't as transparent, apparently.
That, and I bet you the PGA told them, fucking, if you want to keep streaming our shit, you won't post anything live related.
Speaking of streaming, did you see that this Waste Management Tour tournament is only on ESPN Plus?
Well, lucky for you, you have my ESPN Plus account.
I don't. You never put it on the. Oh, I guess you did text it to me, but I'm not searching through all those texts.
Why don't you just log into it and it's on your shit? You'd be ready to go. I'll resend it to you.
Put it on the damn. Hey, how about once in your life, go on the fucking AlwaysOn Google account and sign into the ESPN through there, so it's saved.
No, I might just do that.
You know, that's thinking with your brain, thinking with your noggin.
It's not a bad idea, Chaz. I might just have to do that for you.
There you go. Do it for yourself too. Do it for everyone involved.
Let you see the star-studded field out here at the Waste Management Open.
See, some of these names have been they finally, because earlier today they didn't put who was actually going to be there. So the only names they listed was Matt Fitzpatrick, Xander Schauffele, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler. But now they actually have loaded up. I guess there must be a certain check-in time. But Colin Morikawa is going to be there. Tony Finau, Jordan Spieth, Kisner. So all the big names are going to be here. For if you're 1.4 was last year's winning, so it's probably, if it's double, you think the prize money is closer to 3 million this year. So yeah, I would be there too.
I'm surprised they don't. There it is. It says it's a $20 million purse, 3.6 million first prize.
3.6 for first.
Yep, on a par 71 layout.
Does it say that on ESPN? I only see the purse size.
This is on a website that actually just released the tee times.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the tee times here.
I will put it in for you right here on a star-studded deal that we put in the notes.
And and Shane Lowry, Rory McIlroy, they're all going to be there too. Yeah, this is going to be a good tournament.
Yeah, let's see. They won't have the good guys teeing off for a little while, I'd imagine. But you got Cameron.
I don't know. Rory tees off at 9:48. They don't start. This is what's crazy about it being out in the West Coast-ish, is the first tee time's at 9:15 a.m., which typically, like, if you're at the Masters, I'm pretty sure it's like 7 on the nose.
Yep, that's it. That's how it was last week out in California. I was watching golf till 8 o'clock. Nice.
That is kind of nice.
Yeah, so they got – yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Listen, I just talk to try and fill time because you just sit there sometimes. So,
well, they got guys going off the front and back, obviously, because it's a big field. So Rory is at 9:48 going off hole 10 with Hideki Matsuyama and Colin Morikawa. So that'll be a fucking followed group there. Then Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele, and Jordan Spieth, followed by Cantlay, Fitzpatrick, and Burns. Those are 3 back-to-back-to-back good tee times. Well, even before them at 9:37, Keith Mitchell, Sam Ryder, and Taylor Montgomery, 2 of those 3 were the top 5 or 7 of the Pebble Beach tournament last week.
Interesting.
Tommy Fleetwood's at 9:26 with Charlie Hoffman and Davis Thompson. I like Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, I don't dislike him at all. I like him too. He's an Englishman, isn't he?
Yeah,
somewhere over there at minimum,
something like that.
He's from England. I'm looking at it here on ESPN.
Let's see who else is in the teeing off on the back.
Dude,
nobody
is what?
Let's start. I'm not seeing anybody big here on the back, so let's go back to the front. You got your Gator Billy Horschel at 317, playing with Michael Thompson and Jason Day.
Streakiest man in golf, right there.
Yeah, he's fun to follow when you're watching.
When he's hot, he's a good one.
Yeah, anytime he's in a featured group, I like to watch him. Justin Thomas is at 244 with Joel Dahman and Sahith Theegla. I like watching that guy too. He reminds me of a Vijay Singh. Yeah, that's his name, Sahith Theegla or Theegla.
Is he? He's got to be.
He's Indian. Yeah, but he reminds me of Vijay. But he's tall. I'm pretty sure he's tall as shit.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Your boy John Rahm's at 233 with Max Homa and Keegan Bradley. That's a good
that's a good little crew right there.
Where is Scotty teeing off at? I haven't seen him. Oh, there he is with at 255 with Tom Kim and Victor, the Oklahoma State Cowboy, Hovland.
You see Pat Reed in there? I hope he's not in this stupid
event. He's not playing in this. He's over in the Liv's probably playing somewhere in fucking.
Oh, yeah, he's in Liv.
Yeah. The only reason they were playing together with Rory was it was the DP Tour.
Yeah.
But yeah,
is that just Dubai Professional? Is that what that means? DP?
I think so, yes. Good guess. I'm pretty sure that's what it means.
I mean, I know the D is Dubai because it's freaking. I'm trying to look at it now. What does it mean?
So if
the
you
European
got
Challenge Tour. Okay.
Oh, is it? What's the DP for?
Well, I'm assuming since I'm trying to
because it's Live and PGA together, it's double penetration.
No, it's definitely Dubai double penetration.
So Golf Channel will have it on from 3:30 to 7:30, and ESPN Plus will be 9:15 to 7:30. So I'll have it all day. Or if you want to, you can go old school and Sirius XM 2 to 8 p.m.
2 to 8. Mm.
Then Saturday it'll be on CBS 3 to 6:30. Same with Sunday.
Okay. So who do you think is going to win it if you had to guess?
I'd put my money on Rahm, Rory,
Because he's a top earner. That you can't go wrong with
Scheffler.
that.
Rahm, Rory, or Scheffler probably would be the favorites. I haven't seen the betting odds, but I'd imagine they're your top three favorites. I would probably go with Rahm to win. I mean, he was hot. He didn't play last week, but he won the week before.
I'd go Rory, I think. See, what
Think so?
all I've sort of been thinking about is because in my mind, Jordan Spieth needs to fire his caddy. Should have years ago.
Yeah.
And so I just looked up Michael Greller. That dude needs to be freaking fired.
Who's your dark horse? Who do you got
Spieth.
giving it a run? You think so?
Not really. I just hope so. It's more of a hope than a true. I think he could. If I had a dark, see the problem with the dark horse is I would only really think of a big name like a Hideki Matsuyama type guy, but he's still pretty solid.
Yeah,
like
I was
he
thinking
won
like a Shoffley maybe.
Xander Schauffele. Okay, I'll go out of left field and go Kevin Kisner. That'll be my dark horse.
Wow,
He's good enough to win it, but I don't think he will.
Interesting. He tees off at 10:10 a.m. with Chad Ramey and Eric Van Rooyen.
Yeah, I like Kisner. But I like a lot of these golfers. The problem is when it comes to me I'm sort of like how I am with golf. Golf I can watch like this tournament. What's the one? TPC Sawgrass, the Players Championship. Well, I guess that's actually technically a major. But there's a few tournaments outside of the majors that I can watch, but most of the golf I watch at the professional side is I just love the majors, dude. Whether it's the Masters, the two Opens, or the PGA Championship. Oh, the Players. I'll watch the Players too. That one's good. Well, I guess the Players is the TPC. So whatever.
Well, let's see. They got some pretty big ones coming up here after this Waste Management one. You got the Genesis Invitational at the Riviera. That's Tiger's tournament, I believe, that he hosts out there. That purse, what do you think the purse is on that guy?
I'm looking at him already, so I can't say. Just say it.
20 million, though. That's a solid purse there. Then you got the Honda Classic. That's in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. That one's always a decent one to watch. It's nice weather, beautiful Palm Beach, Florida. 8.4 million. But once you look at the previous winners, you start to realize which ones the big guys take off. Sepp Straka. I've never even heard of the guy. At least
when it's $8.4 million purse, you're probably taking those off.
Yeah, like the Puerto Rico Open.
Yeah, the prestigious Puerto Rico Open.
Yeah, nobody's playing in that because that same weekend you got the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
That's very bad. Whoever is running that tournament in Puerto Rico is probably running their economy because it is not smart to have a tournament like that going with the Arnold Palmer, like one of the biggest invitationals. That's not a major.
Well, that's the man, the U.S. government keeping Puerto Rico down, not letting them host on any other weekend. Say, no, you get this weekend and you like it.
They probably, dude, I'd move to Puerto Rico. You get the tax incentives. They get the best deal.
What's cool is you got back-to-backs there with the Arnold Palmer Invitational in Orlando at Bay Hill and then TPC Sawgrass. You got the Players Championship.
They just get to stay in the state for a few weekends if they want to because then Valspar's right after that.
Yeah, what sucks is Valspar used to be before the Players. I think it was in between the Arnold Palmer and the Players, so guys would play it. Or it was something like, because back when I went to it a few years ago, Tiger was there. And there's a lot of big guys there. I think Rory was there. But now it's not as many big guys playing it, I don't think. At least it wasn't last year. Sam Burns ended up winning it.
I think with the purse, I think once you get around the above 8 million, you probably
then you're taking
enough people. Like maybe it's not all the stars coming, but you maybe you get enough to where they're interested.
1.4 million was what Sam Burns took home, so that's worth playing another weekend in Florida for. I'd imagine.
But
Then
then really besides that, like I know,
well, you got the big
Valero.
ones, right? Well, you got the Dell Technologies match play. That's a $20 million purse. That's a big one.
I wish they did more match play. I like match play.
Yeah, that's always a fun one to watch. But you got Valero that's right before the Masters, so it's like, who's really going to go to Valero that weekend? Not many. Masters doesn't disclose their purse.
What it says here, Masters is 15 million.
This one doesn't show it, but Scotty Scheffler took home 2.7 last year. It doesn't show the total purse for some reason on this PGA Tour website.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking at ESPN, so that it may not be the most accurate, but at least it's a number 15.
Damn, you got 3 in a row there with the Masters. RBC Heritage is 20 million, and then the Zurich's 8.6. I mean, those are all
Not
pretty
chump
good.
change.
And then Wells
But
Fargo.
the Zurich is not like the ones that really stand out once you get past the Masters. Is really like RBC, okay, kinda. Then snoozer, Wells Fargo, AT&T, and I'm not even looking at the purse. I'm just looking at like what people think.
Yeah,
Wells Fargo,
Hollow's
Quail
a nice
Hollow. That's
golf
always a
course.
decent one. It's
Yeah,
$20 million purse. So,
yeah, that's a badass course too. Quail Hollow's sick.
but I'm just
Then,
saying, as a
then the
novice, like
PGA
then it's the
Championship.
PGA. Then that's the one I care about.
And
Then
everybody
it's
always
Charles
watches
Schwab.
the Memorial.
Memorial. I like the Memorial. That's a $20 million purse. Canadian Open.
No one
Don't care.
cares. The U.S. Open's at LA Country Club. Everybody will watch the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and then you got one. It's a major. So you got that. Travelers is always okay. Rocket Mortgage, take it or leave it. John Deere, take it or leave it. Barbasol, didn't even know that was a tournament. Scottish Open, I didn't realize that was in the PGA's tourney there or wheelhouse.
Where do you see the Scottish Open?
July 13th through 16th. It's the same thing. This might be just all the golf tournaments, not just PGA related. So I think the Scottish on the
Scottish
European
Open.
Tour.
No, you got it. It's fine. It's on there.
Yeah, and then right after that, there was the Barracuda. Probably no one's going to play that because then you got Royal Liverpool GC and Hoylake for the Open.
Yep.
The Open, if this is accurate, the Open's only $8.1 million.
Cam Smith that can't be right because Cam Smith took home 2.5 last year.
Well, maybe they don't have a huge, deep purse for all the people. I don't know.
Maybe.
But then 3M, that's okay. But then the rest, I mean.
We got the FedEx, the BMW. Those are 2 big ones. And that pretty much rounds out the year.
Yeah.
The FedEx Championships, that's the big one.
But it's the majors that I really care for, to be completely honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that's when you get to see all the stars play.
Well, I want to switch gears just a touch. Did you see this? You might not have had a chance, but did you see this little graphic that the MLB came out with for the rules changes?
I knew they were making some changes. I might have heard of a couple of these. I'm pulling it up now.
It's the basic ones that we were talking about.
Timer, shift limits. I knew they did the bigger bases to reduce injuries.
Well, so that was the one I was going to ask you a question about. Because you have
3 inches. Like,
yeah.
Who cares?
I don't necessarily understand. And I looked at the bags. If you compare them side by side, they're definitely bigger. But how is that reducing injury?
Well, so there's less collisions at like first base when guys are coming down the line.
Oh, and like their foot or something. Okay.
That's really the only bag that needed to be bigger because now you're giving an advantage to base runners when they're stealing bases or cutting corners coming inside. It's going to make guys faster, cut round in second. It's going to make guys being able to slide in on steals and get around the bag and hook slide.
Well, that was sort of the gist. Obviously, I know pitch timer and shifts were offensive motivated. But that's sort of what I took from these 3 on the graphic is that they all seem to be offensive motivated rules change. The pitch timer, 1,000% agree with. I love MLB. The game needs to speed the F up. It is so slow.
Yeah, I agree.
It's absurd. And they've done legitimate studies. It's not hard. You just say, hey, when did one game start, when did one end? But if you look at games in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, shave off at least an hour on almost every game. And why it became so long and a drawn out process, I have no idea, but it's absurd. I don't know. I think maybe it probably has to do with something too, along with how many pitching rotations you see every game now, because no one goes a full game anymore, not a soul.
Yeah, it's
So,
rare. It's very rare for a complete game.
yeah, and the shift limits, I didn't realize. So I'm assuming, just judging by this graphic, the shift limits is like shortstop and third base, where that dotted line is. So essentially from the center of the diamond over, whichever of their respective territory they're on, first, second, shortstop, and third, that's sort of the area they can cover, I'm guessing.
I guess what I take from it is you just can't cross over second base. If you're on the left side of the infield, you're on the left side of the infield. If you're on the right side of the infield, you're on the right side of the infield. I think it's kind of
Like you
silly
can't
not
have a
allowing
short.
them to. Well, why can't he back up? Like, I don't care if you're playing in shallow left field. I'll just hit a slow dinker to shortstop and beat it out for a base hit then.
That's always been my problem with the shift stuff, is I get the intent. I do, because you want to spur on offense, but I think we're hitting the same note where it's like, learn how to bunt the damn ball.
Yeah.
It's you easily beat the slowest guys can beat out a shift if they just bunt the ball. Then you got a man on first, no outs, and you're sitting pretty. Then they won't have as much of an opportunity to pull a shift on you. So that one, I like it just because, again, it's going to be more production. I would like to see more points scored, but I don't think it's necessary. The bags one was the one that just kind of didn't make as much sense to me.
Well, the shift restrictions, the defensive team must have a minimum of 4 players on the infield, at least 2 infielders completely on either side of second base. These restrictions are intended to increase the batting average on balls in play and allow infielders to better showcase their athleticism with great defensive plays. They could have just stopped with the first part, with the allow better average on balls in play, because, I mean, you could have shown their athleticism on a shift play if they fucking hit against the shift. They just never did.
True.
So pitchers, for this deal, there's a little caveat. The length of games will still be determined by innings, obviously, but to crisp the pace, it'll be 30-second pitch timer. Pitchers will be required to begin their motion 15 seconds after receiving the ball with the bases empty, or 20 seconds after receiving the ball with runners on base. If they don't, they'll be charged with an automatic ball. So that'll be interesting to see. Pitchers will also be limited to 2 disengagements from the mound, i.e. pickoff attempts or step-offs per plate appearance with a runner on first. So that is an interesting caveat, because I would flinch twice, get him to try and pick me off twice, and then just get a massive fucking lead and steal because he can't come back over.
So, and he said it's only 2 pickoffs per plate appearance.
That's what it says. You get 2 disengagements from the mound, i.e. pickoff attempts or step-offs. So if you were to just step off, that's 1. And it's per batter. So why not just get him to try and throw over twice or step off, whatever, and then steal on the next one? Because he just get a massive lead. He can't step off.
Depending on how permanent these rules are, and I don't know all the history of MLB rule changes, but just you saying that, I just think of a guy like Acuna or in his prime Ichiro, people who can just legitimately steal bags. I assume this is going to drastically bump up, whether it's 10, 15 bags yet to be seen. How many bags can be stolen in a single year, like added on? I wonder if something like this would, in the record books, if they ever would have to put, like, how they say pre-forward pass post. Like if they had to do something like that, where it's like pre-2023 rules changes or something. If it were that dramatic,
or if this only lasts for 2, or if it only lasts for 2 years, it's just like during fucking 2022 to 2024 rule change or whatever the fuck, during dumbest change we ever made in history.
I can see, though, if it leads to more steals and to more scores, I don't see the MLB ever turning back off of that, because that's the whole point. Listen, I like some of the games that are not high scoring, but if the MLB can average more games that are around like 6 to 7 or something of that nature, they're all for that, because that's what the NFL's doing, right?
Yeah,
no one. We were even speaking about it in the playoffs, that 13-12 game or whatever it ended up being with the Cowboys and um, 49ers, just a boring
Yeah.
snoozer. That used to be a lot of NFL games.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
now it's like points. So I think
That's
that's
true.
just the nature of the world is everyone wants to have things fast, and points are sort of where it's at.
Well, one way they're trying to counteract that is batters must be in the batter's box and alert to the pitcher by the 8-second mark on the clock, or else they'll be designated to strike.
I like that. And I
So
don't think that
pitchers could start quick pitching and eliminate that dude trying to steal by just getting the ball, getting set and going. I mean, now they can start trying to time you, and that's when you got to be a professional fucking pitcher. But that's with any pitcher. But that's interesting. They got those little caveats in there. If we didn't click on this, we would not have known.
Well, and that's the thing where Spencer Strider, the guy who is for basically the huge up and coming pitcher for the Braves, he quick pitches, like he tries to get in as soon as he can, get himself set, pitch, because he's a fastball predominant guy because he throws like 101.
Yep.
I think that would be cool to see too. I think spring training is where you'll see a lot of people adjusting. You might get a few extra strikes or ball calls than you otherwise would just from them figuring it out. But I think once the season starts, it shouldn't be an issue at all.
Yeah, the rules are going into effect, spring training, and umpires have been told to call violations with no grace period. So they're getting right to it.
Good. I like it. Some of these rule changes I'm all for. The bags, whatever. Shifts, I really don't mind one way or the other. The pitch clock, no doubt a fan of. Big fan of that. Does it reset? So is that now that's interesting. In their pitch clock, does that factor in? I'm assuming it doesn't matter if you're trying to pick somebody off. You just, if you don't get it in there in your 15 or 20 seconds, SOL. You know what I mean?
Not
like it doesn't reset once you throw that.
Let's see. I'm seeing they're basically talking about the pitch timer, but it doesn't necessarily say. Let me send you this link and scroll down to the bottom.
Was that the link that was
the halfway point
on that tweet?
Yes.
Okay, I already have that up, so I can just share it.
Yeah, so scroll down to where they start getting into the pitch timer. It's right underneath the where they go into when the rules go into effect, and there's the fucking commissioner talking and shit. So scroll down. Keep going past that. Keep going past that. And it'll be the next video there.
Here?
Yeah, that's a demo of the pitch timer, apparently.
Let's see it real quick. We'll probably have to talk for a second because I can only imagine it's a commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, but the pitch timer increased stolen bases because the mound disengagement limits placed on pitchers. With the runners on base, the timer resets if the pitcher attempts to pick off. There it goes. Or steps off the rubber. All right, here we are.
Let's see what they have to say.
Situations that are eerily similar. Blake Parker, a veteran reliever, been in the show for a long time. Now, on the left side of the screen, you're going to see him with the Memphis Redbirds pitching in AAA with the pitch clock. Now, on the right side of your screen, this is an at-bat against Matt Carpenter from 2021 when he was pitching with Cleveland. Blake Parker.
I think I'm going to love the pitch clock now that I'm seeing it.
Looks like he's going to speed it up a little bit, but the rule forces guys to get the ball.
Look how much faster he's throwing the pitch.
Let's go and speed what I said earlier, the pace of play.
Dude, that's another.
In AAA,
he's about to throw another
14
pitch.
seconds with no one on base. You have to start your motion.
I just did it. It was around 11 seconds.
If you
judging the difference from when that first pitch went to when the other one on the right side.
You're going to cut a good half hour, 45 minutes off these games.
And then it resets. So here's Blake Parker having to get the ball and go through all of his antics in a much more efficient way than he did on the right side of your screen in 2021.
Well, and I love the word efficient because it made him a more efficient pitcher, but the game is more effective.
I think it might help some of these pitchers.
I think it will,
to be honest, instead of getting in their own stupid heads.
Dude, we just thought the same thing, 100%.
Because you just got to be more decisive where you're going.
A batter has one timeout per plate appearance. If the pitcher steps off or pickoff attempt for a third time, it's treated as a balk.
Oh, I like that. Okay. I like these rule changes now that the pitch clock, I think, was something truly, truly needed. Just like a shot clock in the NBA. I think it's an evolution of the game that was totally within the realms of let's speed this stupid thing up. If you want to see what the difference, if you can real quick, see what the differences were between like a 1970s baseball game to now. It shouldn't be too hard because I know it was relatively recently they did an article. I should have looked it up while you were saying some of these things. But I'm pretty sure it's that dramatic to where I know in the playoffs, they were talking about either this past playoff postseason or the one before where the NLCS between a certain team, whoever it was that year, versus like an ALCS game from 1970, the difference in the game time was literally about an hour and 10 minutes. It was absurd.
Why is that?
They just didn't. Well, I think it's a factor of probably a couple things.
TV is probably a big one.
Well, they had TV back then, but it might have been.
But you don't have as many. How many ads were they streaming? I mean,
true. But at the same token, though, I think
streaming. They weren't streaming shit back then.
Well, and I think a big thing was you would think in a way that the shift would have made things speed up, but I'm pretty sure that pitchers just were a little more decisive, went after it, weren't as many pitching changes. So I think that's a huge time suck if you really do think about it. If you're doing 3 or 4 pitching changes in an inning, every single one of them has to warm up. They all have to do their rigmarole of mound visits and all the other BS. So that there and of itself is probably over the factor of a major playoff game, at least 15 minutes if you have a substantial amount. Yeah. So, and I don't think that players back then were as, for lack of a better word, showboaty in the sense that they needed to adjust our gloves, put more dip in my mouth. I think they were just like ready to go. Where that's just my thing. But when they showed the differences, and it really was that drastic, and it was a 9-inning game. They were both 9-inning games. It was absurd to me. So I think these rules are just leads me back saying these rules are much needed.
And getting into the shift here, the caveat to the shift, you can bring in an outfielder softball style. They just have to pick a side of second base, from what I understand. So you
meaning
can have
a right fielder can come down, or they could bring their left field guy over.
Yeah, or their center fielder and just have a left and a right fielder. If you think the guy's never hitting the ball to center field, like, I don't know, man, you can play it crazy. Because the outfield can shift however they want. And you can bring a guy into the infield, and that'd be interesting to see if some teams start doing that.
Yeah, that would be that's a ballsy move though, because I feel like it's probably not as difficult to poke something out to oppo field but I don't know. I never played baseball even in high school, so I don't know what the true even close to MLB type pitching is like. And I was always a pretty shitty batter anyway. So I didn't have the skills to do any of this crap. So I don't know how easy it is or not to, if you, let's say, bring your center fielder over to cover, the gap between second and first. I don't know.
Man.
It'll be interesting to see.
Once you get to that level of baseball and you're in the pros, I'd say a good third of those guys can hit it wherever they want. Pretty much on any given pitch for the most part.
Yeah, and I think most of them, as long as because they already know the tendencies of what pitches are probably potentially coming, that whatever the ball strike counts are, they're already probably knowing that, hey, if he throws a pitch at this part of the strike zone, I can hit it this way to make it go either right field, left field, whatever. So they already probably know those things.
They definitely know how to do all that. But you ever seen the videos of like Tony Gwynn? There's a video of like a documentary where the guy was telling him like they were playing a game at Comerica Park or some shit, or out in San Diego or so. I don't know. I forget where they were, but it started fucking raining, and Tony Gwynn was up to bat, and the at bat had started. So the umps called a rain delay and ended up postponing the game till the next day. So this rules at the time were that the exact same people have to be in the exact same spots when you start the game. That pitcher has to throw at least one more pitch before you can put another pitcher in. So Tony Gwynn comes back in the dugout and tells the guy, I forget who he told, but he said, hey, tomorrow I'm gonna come in, he's gonna throw me a slider low and away, I'm gonna hit it in the left field. There's guys on like first and second. He said, game's gonna be tied because it was 2-0 at the time. He goes, game's gonna be tied. He was told the pitcher. He said, so be ready. And sure as shit, next day comes up, slider, hits it right into the gap, 2 runs scored, it's tied. The pitcher looks at him like, this motherfucker. He's standing on second base. Like Tony Gwynn was the best hitter probably to ever play the game. At least in terms of contact and hitting the ball, he was top 3 at least.
Yeah, see, when it comes to baseball, it's just such a long history. It's tough to. I mean, there's so many good ones. That when you said that,
I would
was
say
like, well,
present my era. I remember from like the fucking 90s on, late 80s, 90s that I can go back and watch and appreciate.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, wouldn't you think Ted Williams is probably the best hitter?
Sure, but Ted Williams was, I think they were only throwing like low 90s then, and the guys weren't as physically strong. Like, it was a different game. But the fields were bigger. I'll give them that, dude. They were playing in some monster parks back then.
Yeah. I think baseball is one of the few. I grant you that pitching, they probably weren't in the hundreds. If there were very many, not very many. And they would not rest as often. They would probably wear their arms out a little bit more. But I feel like baseball is one of those sports. I guess you could argue this with anyone, though. I think baseball is the one that translates the most throughout the eras, just because hitting is – there's still guys in the MLB right now that can't throw above 90 on their or 95 on their fastball.
Sure, and hitting
studs.
And hitting a baseball is not easy, man. Either you can do it or you can't, especially when velocity becomes involved, and then you got breaking balls and change-ups and shit. I mean, hitting is an art.
Probably the single hardest thing in sports, realistically. If I don't know all the sports in the world, but I would have to say that's up there.
And the cricket looks pretty tough.
Huh?
Cricket looks pretty tough.
Yeah, but I think they average more. I don't know what their averages are. I'm not saying it's easy, but they're not coming. It's not coming in nearly as hot in cricket.
Well, I don't understand a lick of that game. So apparently you can hit the ball behind you and shit. I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's a whole circle. Well, and the thing that got me about cricket is there was one. It might have been Barstool. It was one of those, sites where they got a former player. Who was it? I forget who the former player was because it's now been about a year since I saw this. But they just went out to a cricket field, played the Indian amateur team because India is like the real big cricket country.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I think South Africa is too.
Yeah, and now did he go and dominate? No. But he went out there and just – I guess you could say this with baseball too, and he was a former big league pro. But he went out there and was mashing some of these balls.
Really?
And I think they were saying that I'm just going to call it a ball, but I think they have like an actual legitimate term for it. Whatever the ball is that comes in, I think it only comes in at like 70 miles an hour. That's not slow because it bounces and stuff, but it's not coming in like 90. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking the absolute basics up about cricket. So first they do a coin toss. They determine who hits or fields first.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Obvious.
What the fuck? All right, I already don't know what's going on. They got 3 different kinds of matches. They got a test match. It's the longest match type. It could potentially last up to 5 days. What the fuck?
Well, in theory, they don't ever have to end.
Both teams could go through their batting lineup twice for a total of 4 innings. So for reference, 1 inning, it's a term singular and plural, I know that, whatever, can last for roughly a day. A test match will feature 90 overs, and over refers to 6 bowls or pitches that a bowler, the guy throwing the ball, delivers. So the pitcher's called a bowler.
Yeah, because the whole point is they're trying to knock down those, they call them wickets, I think, the little sticks that are standing up there.
Dude, so a 1-day match is exactly as the name suggests. It's only a 1-day match, and each team bats with 50 overs each. So you get to go up there and swing that bitch 50 times each. What the hell?
And the scoring's weird too, because once you hit it, the whole point is to run from one wicket to the next, there and back. And that's, I don't know if
Those
it's a
are
point
points,
each.
right?
Well, I think it's a run when you
Yeah,
get
we'll
there
get
and
there.
back.
I think we'll get there because the last match is called a 20-20. It's the quickest match type. Each team only faces 20 overs, so those matches usually last about 3 hours.
Normal.
So the batting side begins by sending the first 2 players in their batting order. The striker will be taking pitches from the bowler, while the other batsman, the non-striker, will be at the other end of the pitch. The remainder of the team will wait off the field for their turn to bat. Bowls are delivered to the striker and attempt to get them out. When this happens, they are replaced by another batsman. They will occur until all players are out, which will be the end of the inning. The bowler is obviously the one who's the one bowling to the batsman. He's on the fielding team. Obviously, they disperse around the field to positions designated to either stop the runs from being scored or get the batsman out. The bowler will take the ball and bowl it to the batsman at the wicket, which are stumps in the ground that designate where the batsman should be. The wicket keeper, who wears a pair of webbed gloves designed for catching the ball and protective pads covering the shins, will be behind the wicket. They catch any balls that the batsman's failed to hit. The goal of the bowler will be to prevent runs from being scored by getting the batsman out. This is referred to as dismissal in cricket. They're so proper over there.
Well, it's a British game, so, you know.
When one bowler has delivered 6 balls, that constitutes as an over. Whoa, so 50 overs is 6 balls. Holy shit, dude. No wonder those games last forever. A different member of the fielding team is given the ball and bowls the next over from the opposite end of the pitch. The batsmen do not change in, so the roles of the striker and non-striker swap after each over. Any member of the fielding team may bowl as long as no bowler delivers 2 consecutive overs. This is fucking crazy.
What's crazy, and I was just looking this up, the fastest cricket pitch, so they're on relative the same playing field. I forget that the bowlers can run in. So the fastest cricket pitch ever delivered is 100.2 miles an hour. So a little bit slower than the fastest baseball.
But that's coming in hot, dude.
Fast. Yeah, they say the average is somewhere between 95 and 100.
So there's
obviously the biggest leagues. I guess when you get to run up and throw that thing, it helps you out a lot.
Yeah, there's 3 main ways to score in cricket. There's a single. This is when a batsman makes a good shot that allows them run to the opposite wicket. A run is scored if they make it to the opposing side. Both batsmen must be aware of when this can be done on the field. Double or triple singles are possible as well. A boundary. That's the equivalent of a home run. If a batsman hits the ball to the perimeter of the field, their team is awarded 6 runs. There's no need to run in a boundary hit. Extras. These refer to points awarded from penalties that are done by the fielding team. This happens when a bowler delivers a wide, an illegal delivery that's too high or wide, or no ball. The bowler made some type of illegal delivery or a fielder made an illegal action. So do you want to know how to be dismissed?
Not really. What I do want to know, and I looked it up, is it does. So just in the thing that even led us down this rabbit hole, where average is what's harder, and you're saying cricket maybe, it's looking like these guys are in the 400s, most of them, most of the good ones, with the best being somewhere in the range, like this guy from India, Gil Shubman, looks to have an average. They do it a little differently, so theirs is 73.76.
Gil.
Huh? Yeah, I bet he does. He may. If he doesn't, please do give us a larger crowd. But I'll share this with you. I'm assuming, you tell me what you think. I'm assuming that this is based off of how the averages here work. Is it's just out of 100, and they're just doing it this way, like out of 100 times, he's averaging 73.76 hits.
Oh, well, that's what it looks like to me. That guy's raking it in then.
Yeah, but then the rest of them are somewhere in the range. But I think it goes to show that if that's what I think it's suggesting, baseball is definitely a harder thing to hit.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Because this, if you were hitting 380 in baseball, that is awesome. It's like you are money.
Yeah, you're Hall of Fame, first ballot, no question asked. You're getting zillions of dollars.
There's only one guy that's ever gone above 400, and that's why I said Ted Williams may be the best hitter ever.
Yep, that's a very good point.
That's crazy. But speaking of, I guess, I don't know, we can skip this Colorado State thing. I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous that Colorado State, the alumni or athletic department had to freaking apologize for students more than likely just saying Russia to a Ukrainian kid in the hopes that he got his mind off the game. Like I see that being just what crowds do for opposing teams. Like I don't think that it was some protest against the war effort. I don't think those kids thought any deeper than, hey, what would be something that would throw this cat off his game?
Yeah, I'm over the whole Ukraine-Russia deal altogether. I don't think it's a big deal, especially not warranted to suspend or even expel these kids. I think that's crazy. They're just a bunch of college kids. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think the situation as to regards what it could mean for America could be a big deal. But when it's in the terms of what this means for college kids in an arena against two opposing teams, I don't think it's a huge deal at all. I think it's absolutely nothing. But goes to show, because you look at some of the things on Twitter. I'll just share what the school said, and then you just look at some of these stupid things on Twitter where what people are just saying. Oh, whoops, let me do it this way. So, and this is now a couple of days ago. It's February 5th. It said, following tonight's basketball game, we became aware that a small group of individuals in our student section chanted Russia at a student athlete from Utah State who was from Ukraine. Then they went on to debase themselves even more and just lube themselves up. Oh, wow. Dude, whoa. That's a realistic video game, huh?
What's that got to do with it?
Apparently that must not be the actual tweet itself. I thought this would be the tweet in like the comments, right? But let's go back to the thread here. No? Oh, I like that. You see this? A pedophile killed himself in a courtroom by drinking sodium.
Thanks for saving us some money.
For real. So what I don't understand is, where are the comments here, guys? Oh, here we go. Show more replies. Okay, where are some of these? So look at this. And again, it's from, yeah, not right, but what are the consequences for the fascist students in your school? They go home and you apologize? Dude, come on. Like, they're just messing around. These are 19-year-olds who are probably drunk going in there. I know I was sauced up. Every time we'd go to one of these games, dude, we'd stop off at the liquor store for Florida and get the little, walkables, those little tiny shots. We get like 4 or 5 of them of rum or whiskey or something, and we'd take them in there and get saucy. And it's like, because you can get a free drink for your student entry. So you just make yourself a little mixer. But yeah. And it's like, oh, not our problem. Let the students stay, whatever. It's free country. Yeah, that one's there.
Here. This dude, Aaron Lassiter. There's a 0% chance you weren't aware of it happening during the game. The right thing to do was stop during the game and refuse to continue until the students responsible were found and kicked out of the game, at least.
Yeah,
wow, easy guy.
Fire Mark Adams, whoever that guy is. Yeah, it's just stuff like this where it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? I just don't get that piece at all, to where something so mundane, but this is the internet. People just take things way over the top. It's absurd.
You can get deep into Twitter rabbit holes for sure.
I think let's just say some of these are real people, because that's the one thing you got to know. And funny enough, Elon Musk has never made it known how many bots are actually on Twitter these days either. That would be something very curious. Huh?
So that is interesting. That was his big hang up, and he still hasn't disclosed that.
Well, I think it's probably a hell of a lot more than people realize, because, and no offense to him, if he just, let's say half, let's say 25%, keep it low, if it's not lower, are bots, that instantly, the whole point of Twitter is it's just a big billboard. That's what all these social media companies are, is they're data harvesters and billboards. Yeah. So if half of them or a quarter of it is just bots, what's the point of advertising? Or the rates you can charge for your advertisements dropped because now not as many eyeballs see it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That makes Twitter pretty much worthless at that point if it's mostly bots.
Yeah, so it's probably to his advantage to not disclose it if it's higher than what you think or what most people think, because then you're kind of shooting your own self in the foot, you know?
Yeah, I
What are
don't
you
know.
putting in here? You want to switch to the State of the Union, fella?
No,
That's going on right now, isn't it? Yeah, it's 10:16.
I don't. He's probably just now stammering through his first paragraph.
Do you think?
Well, it's
Well,
past
no,
his
I think
bedtime.
he
Sure.
probably came out around 9. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, they got to whisk the old man off to bed, get him in his jammies.
Dude, it's starting to get like really sad. Obviously, I don't agree with the guy's politics, but you watch him. I was watching. It was the thing with that Chinese balloon going on. He was talking to some reporters, probably outside of. I think it's Marine One is the helicopter, and then Air Force One is the plane. I think it was Marine One, like on his way there. Dude, he is just starting to slur so bad, and he's just talking normally. But the fact that we have the most powerful man in the world is just barely there is insane. Like it's gonna be a long 2 years. I have a prediction going in my head, and I'll make it public now that I bet you if I had to guess, if Taiwan were ever to be invaded, this is a little left field, but China's on the brain since it was in the news this weekend. If China was ever to invade Taiwan, if I were Xi and you were gonna pull that trigger, I think the best time to do it is probably right after the elections, to where one president's leading into the next. If Biden were to lose, let's say if Biden even won, if he runs, and just pull that trigger, because one, that's a difficult time in American like strategic stuff, but two, if Biden's a lame duck president, or if he's even here for another 4 years, he's such a he might die hearing that news. He might stroke out. Seriously, that's a possibility now. Either way,
Well,
do they have like
apparently
betting
had
odds for the State of the Union address?
I don't know. What would you bet on?
Length. When's he going to get there?
I'm sure they had that, but apparently there was a heated moment here about the debt ceiling.
What'd they say?
I threw a link in for you if you want to share it. I thought there would be a video, but there's not. But
where's the video?
You got Marjorie Taylor Greene going nuts, and
dude, speaking of nuts, yeah. There's some interesting politicians. This is the best we can do. 330 million people, and we got craziness all over the place. Okay, so I see here it says Biden Republicans engage in fiery debate. Fiery debt ceiling back and forth during State of the Union address. Were they just booing him? President Biden and Republican lawmakers engaged in an animated back and forth during the Tuesday State of the Union address over whether the debt ceiling would be raised. Some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, Biden said, over threats made by Republican lawmakers to insist on spending cuts before they would agree to raise the debt ceiling. Unless I agree to their economic plan, all of you at home should know what those plans are. Well, at least that last point's pretty prudent. If you're trying to get concessions and you don't know what their plans are, you kind of like, what is the GOP plan? I mean, we know that the Democrats want to spend more money. They're not really shy about that, but what's the GOP trying to cut? There's only 3 big budget items you can cut to bring down the debt. Do you know what those are, Reed? Fun fact.
The military is probably one of them.
True, but it's not even military's of the 3. It's the smallest by kind of a lot.
Social Security, the top.
Social Security is the top. Bing, bang, boom.
And then what? Medicare or Medicaid, whatever the fuck it's called.
Those 2 combined is, I think, second. Yeah, but the military is essentially a third of the spending, and then the next 2/3 are social welfare stuff. So, Yeah, and that's the thing is everyone, oh, you can cut the military. All right, well, you cut the military $200 billion. Fine. I don't know if that's, there's probably that much money to find if I had to guess, just all the freaking waste. But
we
you do that.
We keep just losing money too.
Our debt our average deficit, I'm pretty sure a year is like 1.2 trillion a year now. So,
well, I mean, just misplacing money. Like the Pentagon will come out and just say we can't find $2 trillion. We don't know where it is.
Yeah, but I mean, $2 trillion, that's over the course of a few years, probably, because I think their budget now is like 850 billion a year.
Yeah, but still, how does a government entity not be able to pass an audit 100%? Like they should be, and then there's no repercussions, right? Like they don't
See,
even
but but you know who else doesn't pass an audit? Social Security. They don't know, so it's like everyone bitches at the military, but it's like, probably else can't pass an audit. Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. Like, do we really know where all that money's going?
No, and that's a problem. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't disagree. I don't
That's
disagree
where those
at all.
87,000 new IRS agents should go. Still looking into that shit. But they never will.
Not until shit really hits the fan. But speaking of the deficit, I didn't realize this. This kind of cracked me up. Trade deficit was the biggest ever. I guess that's a different sort of deficit versus the debt. But yeah, we imported almost $1 trillion worth last year of good, almost $1 trillion worth of goods. 70 billion in December alone. That's kind of crazy to me. I don't know how much of our economy that is, but I think it's now like 60-40 relative. So like we import 60 or 70% of what we consume and only make, 40 or 30% of it here.
Assuming this is correct, our national deficit right now, the federal government, 421,409,781,344 and climbing.
You said in deficit for like trade deficits, or are you talking about debt?
Just the federal government spending.
I don't know what you mean.
Deficit.
All right, is this the article that I linked you to?
No, this is something more different.
Yeah, because our deficits are way higher than that as far as what we're not taking in.
So 2022, that's just as of 2023. So we're early.
Oh, like just what we've done this year.
This fiscal year.
I was about to say, because we're running shortfalls. We're running shortfalls of like ridiculous.
Our spending last year, 2022, was 6.27 trillion. Revenue was 4.9. Our deficit was 1.38.
Have you never gone to the USDebtClock.org? This will scare the shit out of you. It's just a running tally of all our debts. It's 95,000. I'm just going to round it up. 95,000 per U.S. citizen. That's 330 million people. And then per taxpayer. So you owe, as a taxpayer, to wipe away the national debt, $247,000 rounded. Isn't that fun? And then it shows you here, our budget deficit as of this exact moment is $1.4 trillion. I
just I like watching the interest. I owe 14,000 just for nothing, just for living.
Yeah. Well, and then cool. You can see here, right? You can see down here, Medicaid, Social Security, defense. So look at those numbers. Medicaid and Medicare, 1.5 trillion. Social Security, 1.2. So I was wrong thinking Social Security was the biggest. It's flip-flopped. But then defense is almost half those two numbers. Not even $800,000. So, everyone bitches at defense, but the two biggest money spenders and wasters, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. And I'm telling you, I mean, I know a lot of people say this in like my parents' generation, but we ain't getting Social Security. I can guarantee you that.
No shot.
We're going to keep paying it. We will never not pay it, but we ain't getting it. Because where is it? The U.S. GDP, this is the thing I love. Yeah, so right now, look at this. 1960, our debt to GDP ratio, which is literally just saying of all our GDP that we do per year, all gross domestic products, put it in dollars, how much percentage is that? So essentially, if you were just to spend all the economy that we do, what would that pay off of our debt? Well, it was 50%, 53%, and 60. Right now, it's 120. So if you were to take everything that our economy produces in a year and just dedicate it to the debt, it wouldn't even pay off the debt. We'd still have 20% left. It's crazy.
Yeah, even Florida's in debt.
I think most states are in debt. Yeah. There's very few that aren't. Where's the one? This is the one I love the most. I'm trying to see. Where is it? So the UF, here, there's revenue.
China's in debt. Not
Oh
as bad
yeah,
as
they're in worse shape than we are. As far as
No.
debt to GDP. They're around
They're
like 150,
external.
right?
Well, no, their public debt to GDP is at 80%, 81%.
That's probably a lie.
Click on it. It's in the top. Go back. I'll point you to it. It's going to be just to the
World debt
there.
clocks.
Yeah. Fucking Japan's in trouble, buddy.
Oh yeah, public debt. Interesting. Japan is
Look at our-
bad, dude. Yeah,
look at
that's
our
why they
Canadian
have so
friends.
much inflation going on.
Look at our Canadian friends. They're just fucking struggling. We're not as bad off as we think.
Well, yeah, we get lucky in a lot of ways. But yeah, Italy's in pretty bad shape. But where's see China though?
Ireland's not bad.
Yeah, but Ireland, what's
Relative.
their GDP? Yeah, their GDP is not even $1 trillion.
Korea, though. Look at Korea.
Yeah, Korea's what? Quadruple Ireland's GDP? They're huge and a small population.
Oh, Nigeria. Now look at their external debt. 3.3%. Talk about cutting some numbers. They're almost in the
Public debt to
green.
GDP. I wonder what that means.
That is a good question. Because Russia's public doesn't have shit. Because that's probably because the government pays for everything.
Well, and actually, Russia though, I think they're doing pretty solid on that stuff because they had a huge gas boom. I mean, they're still a big gas producer, no doubt.
And
But
Saudi
they paid
Arabia
off
was
a lot
right
of it.
behind them.
See, the U.S., I'm not saying the U.S. needs to pay off all their debt, but I mean, good God, dude,
No wonder Taiwan wants, or China wants to absorb Taiwan. Their debt's all low. They're inching towards $1 trillion.
yeah, they better be.
China would love to absorb that.
See, this I don't, because I thought I saw somewhere. I'll get rid of this. China's debt to GDP.
We can get in a time machine. Budget.
Yeah, I
showdown
like that little thing.
2027. What does that even mean?
No,
Oh,
it's
man.
around 80. Then what was it that they were saying the ratio? Because America was it said 90 something from public debt, but it was 100% debt to GDP. Let's see the ratio.
I didn't know that much in 1980, man. We were doing pretty good.
Well, what was it? There was a thing going around where it was since either the financial crisis or COVID. I'm pretty sure it was the financial crisis. So 2008, we've doubled our debt, just outright doubled it.
Let's see. 08 was 9.7 trillion.
Yeah, so we've over doubled it. And then yeah.
Oh God, we tripled it.
Yeah, so that must have been from COVID that we doubled it.
It was 25 in 2020. It's 25.7.
Okay, then maybe
it doubled from 2012. From Obama's second term. The start of Obama's second term. From Obama's first term to now, it was that was the 9.7.
Yeah, the past three presidents, not that all the rest were all that. The best one in the modern era has been Clinton, and all he did was balance the budget. He didn't reduce the debt.
They're predicting our debt to be at 44. Holy shit. So 1,000 million billion, 44 trillion. It's wild.
Yeah. And it's going to be, I think it's by like either 2030 or 2035, the interest on our debt, just the interest payment, is going to be more than the U.S. brings in a year as far as budget. Yeah. So
That's
either
when
a
your
couple
company
things,
goes belly up, right? Like that's
well, either a couple things are going to have to happen. Either we cut some of these social welfare programs, which probably ain't going to happen, or we adjust them in some way. Maybe that could happen, like you raise the age of Social Security, which probably is already needed to happen, or we're all going to be paying more in taxes. I mean, that's the one thing about the GOP that I always hate is like, oh, tax cut, tax cuts, tax cuts. Yeah, I'm all for not paying more taxes, but at the same time, if you're not, that's like saying, hey, I don't know, let's spend the exact same amount we typically do, but reduce our interest rate. Like it doesn't happen that way. So we spend the same amount, but then bring in, or I guess I should say the better analogy that's more like for like would be, we still have the same budget as far as spending, but our company pays us less, So it's like, okay, well, I make less money now, but I'm still going to spend the same. Well, that means your debt's just going to keep growing, and now even faster. So it's like
you're never getting ahead.
No, and that's the one thing. At least Democrats, I'll give them this, are honest in some ways that they want all these social welfare spendings, and at least Bernie Sanders doesn't beat around the bush. He just says that, hey, your taxes are going to go up. You're going to be taxed like 40, 50% of your income. And then he'll say you're going to get X, Y, and Z.
That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
It should start with fucking companies paying taxes.
I think a lot of companies. Yeah.
I think like 90% of fucking companies in Florida didn't pay any taxes.
See, but that, I mean, I don't know how those numbers can be manipulated, so I can't speak to it. Of course, companies probably don't pay as much as they otherwise would or should. But if you can park it, like if AlwaysOn were to become a multinational company, you're damn right, I'd be parking my money in Ireland and not paying a fucking cent here because the U.S. taxes are ridiculous. Yeah. If the U.S. taxes weren't so ridiculous, then I would bring it back. But that's, that's its own ball of wax. But when it comes to taxes, though, rich people do pay. I'm pretty sure the stat is like the top 1% of earners in America pay like 50 or 60% of the taxes. So like the lie that, oh, the rich need to pay more. It's like, actually, no, it's really just the middle class that pays very, very little. So it's really like the middle class that need to pay more.
No, if we're going to hear that.
Huh?
I don't want to hear that nonsense.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It's hard truths. People don't want to. It's like, someone saying, hey, you're fat and could potentially have a heart attack. And me just being like, oh, no, I don't want to. Give me a fucking another 12 donuts. It's like, all right, well, still the fucking truth, So it's like, it's a hard truth. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear that I'm way overweight, obese. By some standards, maybe morbidly obese. But at the same time, it's what the fuck the reality of the world is. And sometimes you just got to be realistic. Oh, is that something that old YouTube's going to be kind to? You literally just blowing down right now. Luckily, I have myself talking, so it won't be able to be seen. Jesus Christ.
Then why'd you say that?
Just because it's ridiculous.
It's medicinal.
Oh, okay. Well, do you have your card? You don't have your fucking card.
I'd go get it, but I don't want to get off camera.
Yeah, sure.
We're busy.
Sure, guy. Sure. Well, I guess last thing, let's talk about it because we're already going way over. I put like an hour time limit. Let's wrap this thing up talking about potentially the earthquake, which that was crazy.
Yeah. And that killed 5,000. Oh, it's up to 7,000.
Yeah, last I saw, I'm actually going to check it now because I think it's probably going up. They were estimating it could be around 10,000 people.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it would be one of, I think the New York Times was saying it was one of the 10 deadliest earthquakes so it's now up to 7,700 according to the New York Times.
Dude, that's crazy.
And I think these things happen like early in the morning. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to open up one of these And it was pretty powerful. 7.8 magnitude on the Richter scale. I didn't know this until today, but apparently the Richter scale is open-ended. But the largest one ever recorded, I think, was like 10, which was huge in Indonesia. But it didn't kill that many people.
Man, that's I couldn't even imagine. I've never been around an earthquake, so I don't know. They're saying I'm seeing here there was 2 earthquakes. So there
Yeah.
was a 7.8 and a 7.5. Man, it looks like it happened right on the border, basically, of Syria and Turkey.
Mm-hmm. I'm bringing it up now, at least something from the Times that'll at least show the graph of where exactly it happened. They had a better one.
It affected people all around this fucking area.
Yeah, so you
That's
see 7
wild.
point in the initial quake in that darker spot, and then 7.5. And I mean, essentially all of Syria, if you look at the map, was engulfed by it. A little bit of northern Iraq, some of Jordan, and then probably a third at least of Turkey. Not the big cities though, like Istanbul or Ankara. I think it's Ankara, maybe Ankara. Those got spared. Those are the big cities. I still call Istanbul Constantinople. I don't care what the Muslims have to say about it.
Wow. You weren't worried about my activities getting us kicked off fucking YouTube.
Listen, all praise be to Allah, Yahweh, and God.
Okay. If you say so.
I'm trying to redeem myself from here we go. The fire at the port is I'm pretty sure, look it up real quick, Reed. Was that port explosion in Syria Beirut? Is Beirut in Syria? Yes, it is. I see it here on the map. It is in Syria. Do you remember it was like last year, the year before? Oh, no, that's Lebanon. Sorry, I think it's Lebanon, that tiny little guy right down there. But did you see last year in Syria, good Lord, in Lebanon, the port that just exploded? I think it was like fertilizer or something in the port where it had a massive explosion.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think that was 2020. But yeah, that was crazy.
Whatever. It was in Beirut.
I remember seeing the video of some dude in his high rise, like miles away, and just you could see the explosion coming towards him. It was insane.
That's got to be fun.
No, it blew his fucking whole apartment out.
Yeah, I'm being facetious, you dummy.
No, you were serious. You want to be a part of it. You hate Muslims and want to be a part of explosions.
I think that's the reverse. Muslims want to be a part of explosions. Just judging on the recent past. Not saying anything. Just judging on the recent past of
Keep digging.
the followers of Allah. They seem to have an affinity towards boom.
Whoa.
Whoa. I'm just saying. I mean, you know. Wow, you see these before and after?
Yeah, looks like a bomb went off, man.
Yeah, Mother Nature said, I'm not fucking around this time. Wow. Well, and I think Turkey got affected the most. There's clearly more people in Turkey. I'm pretty sure the last thing I saw was like 3,500. I think it was probably 4,500 Turkish people that died, and then roughly 1,500. Oh, here we go. At least 1,800 people have been confirmed killed in Syria. And then, yeah, Erdogan, the Turkish president, saying it's like 3 days emergency. I'm trying to see. They had a map. That's something, too, you got to think about. This just made me think, like, what sort of old structures are now just probably ruined that were from back then? You know what I mean? Because Turkey's an old place.
But, I mean, at least they were crushed by Mother Nature and not by fucking war or some other bullshit.
Well, Syria has been. There's been a huge civil war going on in Syria for a long time.
Syria has been
Aleppo. That was
a civil war for how long now? A decade or some shit?
Yeah, it's closing in on it at least. And now, you know, you got the Russians on one side, Europe and the US on another. but I think it's Bashar al-Assad is the guy that the Russians back who, they're trying to kick out of power, if I remember it right. Ooh, look at the Italians coming in strong. 60 firefighters. That's really that'll move a couple pieces of rubble.
I think the U.S. sent 2 convoys or some shit.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Wow, see this? At least 150,000 people in Turkey have been left homeless. 6,000 buildings collapsed.
That's a city worth of fucking people.
Yeah, dude, that's literally. We were talking about college towns before that's Gainesville. That's Gainesville's or Tallahassee. I mean, there's college towns. That's as many people. That's like taking all of Gainesville and saying, hey, you don't have a home anymore.
Yep. Hey, you can't live here anymore. Sorry.
I mean, this is a little more crude and not emotionally intact. But if you're, and I'm assuming there are insurance companies in Turkey, but if you're an insurance company, like, that's a shitty day for you, my friend. You wake up, hey, 6,000 buildings are destroyed, 150,000 people displaced. Like,
I'd imagine your home was part of that, so I doubt you are worried about work at this time. I think your company's just gone belly up.
It may be, yeah, it might depend on where you're at, because
we're not
if you were
handling
lucky
any more
enough to be like
here.
housed in Istanbul or Ankara, you're probably pretty set. But yeah,
like I've been dying to make an insurance claim on this shitty building, this shitty brick and mortar or fucking clay piece of shit I got.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of life insurance policies cashed.
That might bankrupt the whole country just in life insurance.
Dude, speaking of, Turkey has had a lot of like inflation crap going on. I wanted to see, this is the reason I even clicked on this article, is I thought they had a good, I don't think they do. I thought they had a good map showing sort of how they were saying, hey, here's where it hit. I'm pretty sure they had a map earlier in the day where it was talking about how, like, the timing, like when these shocks actually hit or the quakes actually hit. And the reason I even wanted to find it is I'm pretty sure they were early in the morning, relatively speaking, but it could have been the afternoon. That's why I wanted to clarify, because I think one was at like 4 and then one was at like 7. The biggest one was at like 4. And I thought it was 4 in the morning, but I can't find it.
So the magnitude 7.8 earthquake hit the region at 4:17 a.m. local time at a depth of about 17.9 kilometers, 11 miles. So that earthquake happened 11 miles deep. Then it was immediately followed by a 6.7 magnitude aftershock. Holy shit. Then a third earthquake of a magnitude 7.5 hit the region hours later, crippling rescue efforts and causing more deaths. So could you imagine that earthquake happens, you're trying, and then the aftershock, then you're trying to fucking put the pieces together of what happened if you're still even alive. And then a couple hours later, you think, we're getting all this shit moved. Or, all right, everything's over. Boom. Another one. Fucking right as day breaks. You're fucking
DJ Khaled style. Another one.
Another one. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, that I would want to be a part of that.
So this is the largest earthquake to hit Turkey since the 7.4 tremor that killed more than 17,000 people in Duske in 1999. So if
that's a long time, 20 years.
Yeah, I would imagine they built a little better since then on the rebuild. But where is the region of Duske in relativity to fucking
these places you're talking about? I know where Turkey is on a map. I don't know any much more besides that.
Well, I'm looking it up right now to round out the show here. Where is Duske, Turkey?
I don't know. I would guess it's probably in the same, because you would think wherever those mountain ranges are, that's probably the highest likelihood of there being earthquakes. I mean, that's what mountains are made of, is earthquakes, essentially.
Yeah,
tectonic plates colliding.
Do you think that had any effect on the what is that, the Mediterranean there?
What do you mean?
Like a sort of tsunami aftershock effect? Or
I would imagine it's probably not deep enough or something, or I don't know. Maybe. Talking to the wrong guy. I just think that
Duske.
you may need, if it's
So Duske is up in the northern region, up near Istanbul.
okay.
It's
I
off
didn't
the
realize there
it's
would
off
be
the coast. Yeah, it's off the coast of the Black Sea. So that would be the Mediterranean there. But that Turkey's kind of the Mediterranean's kind of tucked up in where that's at. So I don't think it would have any effect on it. But that is, let's see, man.
interesting. Well, I'm glad
It's
I'm
it's
glad
a
it's not
solid
happening
ways
to
away. Complete opposite ends of the fucking country.
country. But what's funny is if you think about that, Turkey's not that large. That's probably like the size of Texas in scale, if even that, from like one
You know
side of
what's even
Texas.
shittier? Even shittier about this earthquake is it's 25 degrees. It's fucking freezing. So you're
Does it say
homeless with
25 degrees Fahrenheit or
Yeah, it
Celsius?
does. It does say Fahrenheit, and it's 6:46 a.m. there. So it's been about 24 hours since the hurricane, since the fucking earthquake. And I'm looking at Gaziantep, so that's pretty much right at the epicenter.
And I bet you pronounce that flawlessly.
It sounded
Well,
good to me.
on that cheery note, do you want to leave on that cheery note? Because we'll probably have to, some of these we can talk about again on Thursday when we're actually breaking down the Super Bowl a little bit. More fun stuff. Well, even though we had a good chat on the PGA. I enjoyed that. I haven't seen their full tournament schedule before in a long, long time. So a little baseball, a little golf. Never gonna be too far away from me. We didn't even touch on Kyrie Irving getting traded. No one cares. Or LeBron James passing Kareem. No one cares. So to each their own there. But in the name of the city that had the last major earthquake, Duce, I think we're going to say deuces to this podcast. If you have seen this and you enjoyed what you saw, like, subscribe, share, comment. India, we love you. What is it? What's a major Indian holiday? What do they say over there in India, Reed? I don't know. But we love you guys over there. Keep following us, even if you're just bots. So with that said, we're going to be back here Thursday. Reed, you got anything to sign off with?
Nope. Thoughts and prayers to the people of Turkey and maybe Syria too. We don't know how we feel about them in America right now. I don't, at least. Not enough to say sorry to them. So
Signing off from
Turkey,
Syria.